Welcome. I'm the Deadwood Jedi, and we are doing another Raid Shadow Legend video. I'm in my own account today because I've been working all week on stream on Twitch, and you can find me there. I'm there 4 days a week now. You can find me there. I've been working all week on a new composition. This is a version of the budget Maneater composition, and it is, I think, pretty phenomenal. The great thing about the budget Maneater is the speed requirements are fairly low. The necessary champions are easier to obtain than a lot of them. You only need Maneater and Painkeeper. As long as you have those two, you can run this composition. Now, the brilliance of this composition, this one I did, is it works for all three affinities. This works for Brutal, this works for Nightmare, and this works for Ultra Nightmare. This really is the one comp to rule them all. It is probably one of the best ones I've ever seen. I mean, 3 bosses, 1 composition. It is really hard to say that there's anything better than this. Now, there are obviously compositions that will do more damage. That's not the issue. The thing is the accessibility of this, the fact that you can scale it up as your count improves, that's what makes this so impressive. And because you only need 2 champions, one of which is rare, one of which is epic. Now, granted, their Void champs are not the easiest to get, but we're in the middle of a Void summon, so this is a great time to present this to you guys. This works for Brutal, so if you're trying to get into Brutal Clan Boss, this will work for you. This works on Nightmare, so if you're moving up to Nightmare, this will work for you. And if it works on Ultra Nightmare, so if you're going into that last stage of the Clan Boss, this will work for you there as well. You can build your team up and start scaling the effects and the damage along the way, so you don't have to rebuild your Clan Boss team every time. And the best part about it is the speeds are the same. You only have to switch out 1 piece of gear for your slow boy champion, the stun target. That's the only person you have to even change the gear on to make it work for all 3 affinities. So it's a real easy thing. The setups are a little bit different for each one, and I will go through that. I also have this whole composition is on my website, so if you have questions about it, you're trying to figure out how does this work, I do have it all listed there. It's all written down. You will see it on there, so definitely try and find that there. I'm really happy about this, and I'm really happy because it's something that's going to be great for the community. For so many of you use this budget Maneater composition already, this gives you a lot more options of how to do that, and I think that's really helpful. That you can now, you don't have to build it separately for each difficulty. You can just use this one build to make it work. Now, I do have to give a huge shout out to Rust. He was very helpful. He gave me a lot of insight on how the budget Maneater works originally. He came up with a lot of the speeds, which I was just tweaking to try and make it work on different difficulties, and that's how we got to where we are. And so a big shout out to him. If you guys are going to be running this, you definitely want to check out his stun calculator. It is really helpful as far as figuring out who gets a stun from the clan boss, because that is what this composition relies upon, and that is also on the website. You'll definitely want to check that out. It's under guides and resources. It's his stun calculator. I'm going to actually move it to the top of the list so it's really easy for you guys to find. He also has a huge write-up on how the budget Maneater works, which can be really helpful for understanding this composition in itself. I just did another video looking at the budget Maneater. I definitely recommend checking that out for some additional information. But this one is, I'm just really happy with it, really proud of it. I think it's going to be a real use to the community. And on that note, just really quickly, guys, I do need to mention, I've been noticing about 2/3 of you that watch my videos aren't subscribers. It is the easiest way for you guys to support my channel, support the work I've done, support the website that I provide for you guys. Just subscribe to my channel. It makes a huge difference for me. It really does help a lot, and it also helps. It's a simple thing for you guys to do. It doesn't cost you anything. Just takes a minute. So I'm putting that request out there. Hopefully you guys will respond. I would really appreciate that. But in any case, let me go in. I'm going to show you guys the champions, and I'm going to show you the runs. This is a longer video because I do want to show you this works on Brutal, Nightmare, and Ultra Nightmare. I am going to show you all 3 runs. I'm going to walk you through the setups for each of those so it's easy for you guys to see and understand. So let me go ahead and show you guys the gear, show you how we're set up here, and then we'll go into the run. First champion we're going to be bringing in is obviously Maneater. Maneater is the key to this whole composition working. Now, one of the things we want to make sure with this composition is our slow boy is going to be our stun target. He needs to have more HP and less defense than everybody else. That's the requirements. Maneater, we do have with less HP and more defense. His speed is going to be 240 or 241. Those are the requirements to make this work on all 3 levels. And so that's what we got him at, and that's going to work just fine with him. His key ability, of course, his key skill is this Ancient Blood ability that blocks debuffs and makes him unkillable. So that's the one that we're going to be focused on here as we're going through. For masteries, I've taken him down the accuracy tree just so I can get Lore of Steel, so I can get a little bit extra speed on him. And then obviously the attack tree all the way down here to, nope, there we go, all the way down here to War Master, which is going to be the damage part of it. Nobody's going to need Heart of Glory. We are going to be low on HP for most of this fight, so taking Grim Resolve is really helpful. Also really helpful is taking Life Drinkers, just to make sure everybody has a little bit more HP. Gives them extra chances to counterattack when we have them on the defensive tree, and also make sure that they're not taking the stun. So those are the masteries that are going to be most important for you. As we go through, the other champion we're going to want to look at is Painkeeper. Painkeeper, again, is going to have less HP than our Stun Boy and more defense. His speed's got to be between 115 and 221. I'm pretty sure those are the numbers. I will have them written down on the website, so you can just double check there. But those are generally the numbers, 115 to 221. The numbers on this are pretty tight too, so you're definitely going to want to double check in the calculator with everything you do here. Painkeeper's main skills. One is going to be combat tactics. This is really important. It reduces the cooldown. So remember Ancient Blood from Maneater? It's a 5-turn cooldown on that. This reduces it to 4 turns, and that's what allows this composition to work. By reducing that to a 4-turn cooldown, we can make Maneater go at a consistent pace and always have block debuffs and unkillable for the AoEs available for us. That's key. The other key skill is going to be Sweep, Spectacular Sweep. The reason why this is so important is it gives a HP boost to everybody on the team, but it's based off Painkeeper's HP. And because of that, the HP levels of all of our champions are going to be higher than our stun, our slow boy composition, the HP percentage anyway. And that's really important for making sure that the stun hits that champion all the time. So this is a really important skill. We need that to happen right before the stun happens. It has to come after the AoEs and before the stun. So timing those skills is really important. Now for masteries on Painkeeper, I did go down the defensive tree. Obviously we went down the attack tree all the way down to War Master again. Like I said, we have Life Drinker again, just like I said, and we also have Grim Resolve, just like I was talking about before. All of those are really important. Now we went down the defensive tree, and I was testing something here. I didn't see any big deal with that. I don't think that's an issue. But one thing we definitely do not want to do with Painkeeper is we do not want to take Retribution. Painkeeper has a turn meter boost on her A1. So if Painkeeper gets an extra counterattack in there, it's actually going to throw off the composition. So it's really important we don't take that. That's crucial. Other than that, pretty standard build. We can go down the support tree if you like. Doesn't really matter. Probably a better way to go actually can make the heals a little better. Can maybe take Lore of Steel so that she gets more speed in her build so we don't have to struggle to get there. But it's not really crucial any way you slice it. Now the next champion I want to talk about is the next crucial component to making this work. It's going to be Aethar. He's going to be our slow boy in this composition. Now the way this works is because Aethar's speed is so low that he's only going to take 2 turns for every 3 turns the clan boss takes. So that means on the second AoE, that means from the first AoE all the way to the stun, Aethar, we've timed it so he only takes 1 turn. So the Unkillable, the block debuff ability, both those coming from the Ancient Blood of Maneater, is going to stay on him through the stun. So he'll stay affinity friendly. He'll stay able not to actually be stunned all the way through the fight because of that. And he won't be killable through that as well. So it's really crucial. The big thing is HP has to be higher than everybody else's, and his defense has to be as low as possible. If we can do those 2 things, he's going to work. Now, it is important to make sure we don't go over 50,000 HP. That will throw off the composition, and the clan boss will try to stun somebody else. So I generally try to keep it between 40 and 45,000 is usually a good number. Don't want it too high. Other than that, I should go back. The speeds for him. So to work on Brutal and Ultra Nightmare, he needs to be between 111 and 118 speed. Not too hard to do. Really slow. For Nightmare, though, we need to actually increase that speed to 121. So in order to do that, all you have to do is switch out 1 piece of gear. For me, with this build, I'm just going to switch out the weapon. The last 2 champions are our DPS champions. So we're going to bring in 2 champions. They have to be within 175 and 178 speed. We're bringing in Rosin. He's at 177, so he's within that range. Again, lower HP, higher defense, and just maxing out the damage as possible. And the other one we're going to bring is Septimus. And again, lower HP, higher defense. Now you can see his defense is actually really low. We would love to have that higher, but it still works. Even at this range, even at this level, it still works. And you can see his speed is in that range, 175 to 178. All these speeds, you do want to double check in the calculator. Make sure that they work. You don't want to just rely on eyeballing at what they tell you. If I had Rosin at 178, he still might be too fast. If I have Septimus at 178, he would probably be too fast because of the speed sets I have on him. So you definitely want to check in with the calculator. Same thing goes for Maneater, same thing goes for Painkeeper, and especially for Aethar. You definitely need to make sure that you hit these speed ranges if you want this to work for all three affinities. Let's go ahead. We're going to go in. We're going to show you all of these runs. I'm super proud of this. So let's go into it. At the end, I'll recap everything for you guys. So as we go in, we're going to start with the Brutal Clan Boss, and we'll move in order of difficulty as we go through this. Now, the turn order for Brutal is the most complicated of all the tunes, and that's just a result of trying to keep the same speeds on all these champions, so you kind of have to bear with it. It's going to begin with Maneater. Maneater is going to use their A1 or A2 ability on the first turn. We're not going to use the Unkillable yet. Painkeeper is also going to use her A1 to start. We're not going to use the cooldown ability nor the heal ability of her to begin with. Now, Maneater is going to take a double turn on turn 1. So you can see right now, turn count 0, Clan Boss attacks. We are now at turn count 1. Maneater is going to take a double turn here. To begin with, we're going to use the A1, and we'll use Maneater's Unkillable on the second attack. So we're going to start with the A1, and then we'll use Maneater's Unkillable on the second attack. Painkeeper will use her cooldown ability, Combat Tactics, right here in between these AoEs. And then all the other champions are just going to use their abilities as they come up. Now you'll see Maneater right there, Unkillable, and block debuffs. Now, the next turn, turn 2, Painkeeper will take a double turn. She's going to start with the A1, give a little turn meter boost, and then she'll use the heal ability on her second turn. And you're noticing I'm manualing this run. I'm actually going to manual this run for a while. Painkeeper's A2, that healing ability, she doesn't always use it on auto. There needs to be a threshold of the lack of health. So she needs to be hurt a little bit, or her allies need to be lower on health for her to be able to use that ability. And because it's only brutal level, we're not actually taking too much damage along the way. So there's a possibility she won't use that skill. And the problem is, because she has a turn meter boost on her A1, her not using that A2 skill means that she's getting a turn meter boost instead, which can create serious issues for us as far as the comp goes and throw us out of sync. So you do need a manual a little bit, at least until your health is low enough consistently that she's going to use that ability on auto. Now, one of the beautiful things about this, even though it doesn't take us till turn 9 to be fully in sync, Maneater does use the Unkillable ability and the block debuff ability in time to make sure that we are affinity friendly and stun friendly with this composition. We will not have Unkillable on us for the first AoE until turn 9, at which point we will be completely unkillable throughout the rest of the run. And one of the keys to this, of course, is making sure that Aethar's HP is higher than everybody else's and his defense is lower than everyone else's. The key to that is Painkeeper, her heal ability. It's based off her own HP, so it's a flat amount that goes to all the other champions. And that means that Aethar, because he has the most HP, the amount of healing that he gets is a lower percentage than all the other champions, which means that he's going to be the most attractive target for the clan boss to hit. right, guys, so as we get into our Nightmare run here, we do need to switch out the stats on Aethar. So we're going to go ahead and swap one of his gear pieces. Just take that weapon off and we're going to put a different one on. We're going to increase his speed to exactly 121. You can have a speed set on it, but it needs to be 121. You're definitely going to want to check this in the calculator. This is the only speed that works for Nightmare perfectly with everything else. Otherwise, it can desync later on. So this is what you're going to need to have with the other speeds on the composition. Now, this one's going to be a little bit on the complex side of setup. Nothing crazy, but we're going to do an A1 or an A2 with our Maneater to start. And then we are going to use combat tactics from Painkeeper in the beginning here. Everybody else, as usual, we can use however we like. And then in the turn 1, after this attack, Maneater's going to take 2 turns. He's going to use his Unkillable ability right from the beginning. Right here, we're going to use Ancient Blood to block all the debuffs. Painkeeper's just going to use our A1 to begin. We're going to wait to use that A2 ability. And then everybody else is going to continue to move. And you'll see Maneater gets a second attack during this turn. And it doesn't matter, A1, A2, not important. On this next one, Painkeeper's going to get 2 turns. So we'll start with the A1 first. And then we'll use Painkeeper's A2 right before the stun. Now, I haven't had a chance to test this against all the affinities, but I did run this against what I think is probably the weakest affinity for this comp. There you go. You see the healing goes out and the stun goes to Aethar. At this point, we are on auto, and nothing can hold us back. I did test this against a blue affinity clan boss. That meant that Septimus was the weak affinity, and Aethar was the strong affinity, which is completely not what we want. And yet it still worked. It took a little bit of time. It took several turns for the healing of everybody else on the squad to get low enough so that the clan boss would target Aethar. I think it was around turn 15 or so that finally happened. But the point is that we were able to get away with letting Septimus take the stun for several turns. And even though Aethar is the strong affinity for this clan boss, the last person he wants to stun, he will eventually go there. So as long as you get the stun calculator stuff right, it should work just great for you. Alright, finally we're at Ultra Nightmare. We moved Aethar's speed back to what we had it before for Brutal. It's the same exact speeds you need for that, so we just put that one piece of gear back on. and we're able to jump in and get this run going. And this is the easiest setup out of all of them to do. All you're going to do is right away you're going to use Ancient Blood from Maneater, make us unkillable, and you're going to use a combat tactics from Painkeeper and reset it, and then we are unkillable going into this. Now Painkeeper, you're going to end up using her A1 here. You could use her A2. I know it works in the calculator, but I went ahead and used her A1. It will work either way. Doesn't matter which one goes first. And you might want to adjust it against Green Affinity. You will notice she doesn't have block debuffs on, so that is the only thing. Green Affinity I wasn't able to test this on, but I believe it will still work. You would just use her A1 for both attacks. There goes the A2 to heal up, and the stun goes to Aethar, and we are full auto at that point. This one you can pretty much click auto right from the get-go, and in theory it should work. Again, I like the manual just to get things started, just to make sure no AI craziness happens and throw things off. That's a personal thing I like to do, but definitely something you can try out and test. The point is, this composition definitely works on Ultra Nightmare, and it's a very, very simple setup. Again, against Green Affinity, I'm not 100% sure if it works, but I am very confident that it should. If anything, you just use Painkeeper's A1 all the way through that first cycle, and then get her back on track after that. She's going to be using her A3 combat tactics between the AoEs, and she's going to be using her A2 on one of the two attacks before the stun. Which one, it doesn't really matter as far as making the composition work, as long as she does it on one of them. There we go. 3 bosses down, 1 composition. I mean, this composition, it rules them all. It's the winner. It takes it all. It's easy to do. You only need 1 epic champion to make it work. Now, granted, it's a void, so it can be a little bit more difficult to get, but I mean, if you can get yourself a Maneater, get yourself a Painkeeper, there's no reason not to run this composition. Make sure to use Rust's stun calculator, and again, big shout outs to him for helping me with this. But that stun calculator is going to save your life as far as making this composition work, because it can be a little bit challenging, especially in the beginning, making sure that you get the stun at the right spot and on the right champions. But being able to use 1 composition to work against all affinities, or all difficulties, excuse me, and all affinities for that matter, that's a real big accomplishment. I think that's something that's really useful for everybody in this community. So definitely recommend you guys, at least try this out. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you guys aren't subscribed, please do hit the notification bell so you know when my next video comes out, because I don't do them every single day. Catch me on Twitch. I have a lot of fun. This is where I'm testing a lot of these stuff, so you can definitely check me out there. You can pick up a lot of tips as I'm doing a bunch of different compositions. Definitely get some learning in there, and we generally have a pretty good time as we banter back and forth. But guys, it is always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for stopping by and sticking with me to the end of this video. I know it's a little long, but there's a lot of information to get out there. So, guys, till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.